Hello anyone, everyone, and no one. Today I'd like to talk to you about the Roman dodecahedron. Now, I've watched a lot of videos about this and heard a lot of theories from people about what they think this object was. Now that I've actually got one of my very own to experiment with, I'd like to present to you my theory, and because it is my theory, I'm going to go ahead and take the extravagant step of declaring the mystery at long last solved. And over the course of this video, I aim to convince you that my theory at least has some merit. So, what is this theory that I'm declaring has finally solved the mystery of the Roman dodecahedron? Well, to put it very simply and directly, I believe that the Roman dodecahedron was the ancient equivalent of this: a folding camp stove, also known as an MRE heater. But before I get too deep into my theory, I'd like to give you a couple of specifics about the dodecahedron that I've been using to experiment with. It measures between 4 and 4.5 centimeters on each side and masses approximately 93 grams. It is made of plastic and has a couple of layers of paint on it. Using the ancient Roman dodecahedron is simplicity itself. To use it in its primary use as a folding camp stove or its secondary use as a hand warmer, all the ancient Roman would need to do is to stick the object into a bed of hot coals or embers and give it a twist. Here's where the nubs serve their purpose. What they do is they dig a nice hole for the dodecahedron to sit in, creating either a stable purpose on which to cook or making it a little bit quicker for the object to heat up to use as a hand warmer. Holes in the Roman dodecahedron here serve two purposes. First is weight reduction, and secondarily, they affect heat flow within the object. Now, why are there dodecahedrons with differently sized holes? Well, that could be down to individual preference or personal experience. While it is entirely accurate that the Roman legion had a folding camp stove very similar to our modern ones, the Roman dodecahedron presented, I believe, two advantages over that. First, it was significantly smaller and much more portable. It could be tied onto a pack with a simple expedient of string or even hung off a belt. Second, the dodecahedron was much more efficient for an individual. Those folding camp stoves that we have are meant more for an entire contubernum, which is approximately 9 to 10 men. Most regrettably, I do not have any reproduction Roman cookware, but I do have a couple of objects that are very similar to those used by the ancient Romans. The first is a coffee cup, which is very similar in design to those used by the ancient Romans, and as we can see from the photo, it fits very easily on the top of the dodecahedron. And with a flame either beneath it or surrounded by hot coals, it is very likely that this would keep the liquid in the cup very warm, if not make it boil. Unfortunately, I do not have a copy of Reproduction Roman Mess Kit, but I do have an object which is very similar in size and function to that of the ancient world, and that's what we're looking at in the image above, and as we can see, it very easily fits on top of the dodecahedron. This theory, I believe, also explains very well why no dodecahedrons that have been found are made of a material other than metal, because, simply put, an object that is meant to be stuck in a fire that is made of hide or wood would not be, in a manner of speaking, fit to purpose. This theory, I believe, also explains aptly the variance in the size of the Roman dodecahedrons. While that 4 to 4.5 centimeter per side size is, I believe, the minimum size for it to be practical as an individual camp stove, it could certainly be larger, but at that point it gets above the level of what an individual might need and becomes more useful for a group of 2 or 4 or even up to 9 individuals. This theory of the Roman dodecahedron as part of a Legionnaires' mess kit also explains why they do not appear in the historical record. While the modern-day MRE heater is a miracle of modern science, a soldier is unlikely to write an ode to it and have that recorded for posterity. The Romans were very much the same way. This theory of the Roman dodecahedron as a camping stove or hand warmer also explains why there are no instructions on how to use it. All the instruction that would be required could be accomplished in approximately 2 minutes by an experienced legionnaire or other individual. There is, however, one question that we have yet to answer, and that is, why are these only found in continental Europe archaeologically? Now, my answer to that is simplicity itself. It's possible that the dodecahedron started out life as a Celtic individual camping stove. The ancient Romans, never one to look a gift horse in the mouth, simply adopted those, but the knowledge of this particular camp stove did not spread outside the borders of Europe, for some reason. Well, there you have it. That's my theory about the Roman dodecahedron. Unfortunately, as my dodecahedron is made of plastic, I'm not going to be sticking it in any fires or hot coals. But if you do have one that's made of metal, or you'd like to send me one, I would very much like to test this in a practical way and see how it works. Either way, thanks very much for your attention, and have a good day.